Micro yeses lead to big yeses. So this is actually tapping into the subconscious when you're doing sales. So remember that little yeses lead people to an automatic big yes down the track. So if you are encouraging little yeses the whole way through, you're more likely to get a yes from them at the end. And it works in the reverse as well. Hello there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I'm here to give you strategies, tips, and tricks to help you grow your business using not just social media, but many of the skills and strategies I've learned over the years from some of the most incredible coaches, mentors, and examples in their industries. Today, I want to share with you something a little left of center. This does relate to social media, but it's kind of the bit that comes after that. When we use social media, we're generally using it to meet new people, to get leads, to start those relationships. Social media is a brilliant place for you to connect with more of the right people for you so that you can, of course, grow that business. You need to always be filling that pipeline, right? Well, the question I often get asked is, okay, well, when I get the lead or when someone connects with me, now what do I do? Or the complaint that I'll often hear is, I get all of these leads. I'm using these strategies that you've taught us. We're putting lead magnets out there and we're putting great content out there and people are interacting with us, but I don't know what to do with those connections. How do I take them from being a lead to a sale? And that's a brilliant question. So if you've been asking it, I'm glad you've been asking it because that means that you're on the right track here. But there is a fundamental problem for many people, and that is, how do I take people from high to customer without feeling pushy? How do I take them from almost a sale to converted without being houndy and hassly and sound like that cheesy salesperson? And this can be a really hard thing to do, but I have got some really simple tips and tricks that I can share with you today to take people from a maybe or to take them from almost to, heck yes, I want to know more, or yes, absolutely, sign me up, or let's have that meeting. So if you want to get people over the line and you want to know some ways to do it really simply and really easily that feels congruent with you, it doesn't feel pushy and salesy, then you're going to love this episode. I'm going to share with you a few really simple, really easy tips and tricks that I have used over the years. I have learned some of them through experience and others from some incredible teachers and trainers over the years. And let me tell you, most of this is simple psychology. Most of this is just understanding how the human brain works. And it's not about, by the way, manipulating people. It's simply about understanding how people procrastinate and how to get them over the line. I mean, think about it. How many times have you done exactly what I've done, which is you've walked away from a buying opportunity and regretted it, or you've walked away from an experience that you could have had you made a decision on the spot? Well, all I'm going to show you is how to help people make a decision one way or the other really quickly so that they're going to move closer towards what they want as well. So you're actually learning to help people. So I'm really excited to share these strategies with you. I know that you're going to love them. You only need to pick one or two of them up and use them to really get the impact. But from time to time, I use all of these in different ways. And you will probably see, if you are a member in our community, you'll probably see how I utilize some of these from time to time. Learn from me, do what I do, copy what I do. I'm here to teach. So let's have some fun today. I know you're going to love this. Grab your pen and paper. You're going to want to take some notes, I reckon. And let's dive on in. Okay, so how do we get people over the line? Well, there's a few really key things to remember here. First of all, understand that the human brain doesn't want to move away from what's comfortable, which means making decisions, especially decisions to do something you've never done before, All of us struggle with that. And so when you're offering someone an opportunity, and that opportunity may simply be a coffee with you, you need to understand how to get someone to give you a yes rather than a maybe or I'll try. By the way, I think I interviewed someone the other day and they said, if someone says I'll try, I think it might have been the amazing Mark Assetter. He said, if someone says I'll try, that means they're not going to do it, right? So you really want to get people to make a commitment right there and then while you're with them, because most people won't come back and do it later on. Some will, most won't. So first one is this. Let's just say you want to lock someone into your calendar for a catch up or a meeting or a demonstration or just a coffee, whatever that is. And you can use this with friends and family as well, by the way. If you say to someone, when are you free? The brain just kind of goes, I don't know. And so it creates this situation where people are more likely to say, I'll come back to you, or I'll let you know, or no. And so rather than saying, when are you available, change the language up a little bit. And it's as simple as giving people options. So if I am trying to connect with a new possible client, or I've got someone that I'm networking with, or a lead, or just a friend I want to see, or maybe someone who's not a friend yet and I really want to get to know them a little bit better, instead of saying, when are you available? Let's say that we're going to catch up next week. I will say, are you available on Tuesday or Thursday? And they might go, I might have some time Tuesday. And I'll go, great. I could do 2 or 4. So what I'm doing is I'm giving them options to pick from rather than asking them to figure it out. So what this does is it narrows the decisions down and it makes it much easier for people to give you that yes response. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is the assumptive close. All right. So this one is more when you get people down the track. Let's say you've talked to them about the product, maybe you've sent them a sample, or you've done a demonstration, or you've whatever, and they're at that point where you now need to ask for the sale. Well, sometimes just saying, would you like to buy? Or what decision would you like to make is a really difficult question to ask. And I don't blame you. I don't like asking that question either. An assumptive close is actually, it's in a way, it's a much more direct close, but it feels a lot more comfortable because you're kind of skipping over the sales question entirely and jumping to the next step. Now, this is really good if you can offer something a little extra. So let's just say that you've got a bonus you could offer, and you've got to think a little outside the square here. You can get a bit creative, but it might be about thinking about something extra you could offer, a special gift or a discount, or it could be a different way to order. And what you want to do is almost give them options here as well, kind of like what I said in the last tip. You turn this into your close. So I'll use our memberships as an example. We have 2 core memberships, and then we have our top membership, which is a mentoring program. Now, typically, most people that enter into our community come in at the bottom or the middle membership, and then if they want to join our top membership, we then do an interview with them, a little process for them to choose to join us in there. We'll put some information about that down in the show notes with this podcast recording if you want to know a bit more. But here's what we would do. Instead of me saying, so which membership would you like? I would say, so would you like to do the Accelerator or the Academy? Now, I've seen people do this as well with their product where they might have, let's say you've got free postage if you order over a certain amount. So you might say to them, since you're going to be ordering over $100, would you like to take advantage of that and add in the extra XYZ that you were thinking of so you don't have to pay for shipping for that later on? Or you could do it with the free gift. Which free gift would you like with your order? Okay, so that's a really fun one because you're focusing them on the bonus. I had someone recently do this with me with their products. I loved the way that they did this. They offered me a little $10 bonus voucher for placing my first order with them. And so they didn't focus on the order. They said, what would you like to use your $10 voucher for with your order? So my focus was on the freebie I was getting, and it was a straight yes. It was like she's assumed I'm buying. I don't want to break it to her that I'm not, so I might as well just buy, right? So the assumptive close can be, A really simple, easy one to use. So something like, should I pop you down for the starter pack or the full pack? Should I pop you down for the Accelerator membership or the Academy? Would you like me to do an interview with you to join our Rise Up Inner Circle when you join one of our memberships? So what I'm doing is I'm focusing them on the next step, not focusing them on the initial decision. So assume that they're buying. This is just about choosing how that's going to happen. Okay, so that's another really simple and easy one. Loads of ways that one can play out. I've seen it done as well with adding the business opportunity in on top. So would you like me to sign you up as and whatever language you might use, so you get the extra 10% off at the same time? So what you're doing, again, is focusing them on the next step. So there's that one. The next one I want to talk to you about is FOMO. This is creating demand. And this one, if done right, this is not about manipulating. I want to be very careful because you can use this one in a manipulative way. But I love to do this, and you can create your own FOMO, by the way. I love to do this to really help people make that decision one way or the other, because we all like to procrastinate, every single one of us. So sometimes it's a really great way to just get people to decide either way, like yes or no, but make a decision, right? So FOMO is a great way of doing that because everyone wants to be a part of something. They want to follow others. And so people want to do what everyone else is doing. So there's a few ways of doing that. You can do it by talking about what everyone else is doing in your community, with your products. Hey, 8 out of 10 people this month are ordering XYZ when they place their order because of XYZ. So encourage them to do what everyone else is doing. Now, you can also create demand in this space by creating something that is either time limited or numbers limited. So we do this a little bit with our memberships deliberately. We don't open up our memberships all of the time, because if we had them open all of the time, people would simply sit there and procrastinate and not make a decision. And I, as you probably know, am all about taking action within our memberships as much as anything else, because there's no point you learning social media and then doing nothing with it, right? So I want action takers. So what I do is I open up our memberships from time to time, usually once every 1 to 2 months, and you've got to jump in during the time that that's open. Otherwise, you miss out. There might also be a bonus that I might throw in just for a period of time to help people make that decision. So you could get creative with this. You could throw an extra special gift in. You could do a discount if you've got the ability to do that, but you could also get creative with your own time. Hey, I'm going to be doing a little workshop or a how-to or a masterclass or a coaching call for those people that jump in and join me by tomorrow, by in the next hour, whatever that might be. So use FOMO. And remember that people want to do what people are doing. So let them know without lying, without manipulating, tell them the truth. But this is what most people do, and this is why. People are more likely to follow what most people do than be the one that does something completely different. Okay, here's the next one. You'll see this if you watch very, very closely to people like our friend Tony Robbins, right? He does this a lot. Yes or yes. I've seen lots of salespeople do this, people who are very experienced in this space. Micro yeses lead to big yeses. So this is actually tapping into the subconscious when you're doing sales. So remember that little yeses lead people to an automatic big yes down the track. So if you are encouraging little yeses the whole way through, you're more likely to get a yes from them at the end. And it works in the reverse as well. So things like, would it be okay if I sent you a quick video? Would you like to see how it works? Would you like help getting started? Even saying to them, yes or yes. You see Tony do this a lot. Yes or yes. So asking questions where you know yes is the answer is actually a really, really clever tactic. And I really encourage you, watch other salespeople out there, other people that are really, really good in this space, and learn from them by just watching those little tiny things that they do. Because let me tell you, 1 or 2 words inserted in the wrong spots or used the wrong way, even by accident, can make or break the sale for you, or make or break the decision-making process, because this might not even be about a sale. It might just be about getting someone to catch up with you. one of the biggest things for me is absolutely networking. I don't focus so much on the sale in any context. I focus on the relationship and getting those meetings so I can build the relationship. My favorite thing to do when I travel is challenge myself to have coffee with, meet with, and build friendships with as many people in my industry as I can. Now, I don't have a rule around who that could be. It could be someone who does what I do, it could be someone I could learn from, or it could be a potential client. But I love doing this because this is how I grew a really successful business, and most importantly, how I grow myself every day. But sometimes getting those meetings can be really hard, especially with very busy people. And as I'm getting more experienced in my space, some of those people I have to go through, jump through hoops to get meetings with. I've got to go through PAs and guard dogs and all sorts of things to get there. And so sometimes I have to use some of these strategies just to get the meeting, just so I can meet that person in person. Now, to do that, I use some of these tools. Another one that I love to use, and I know you'll probably find this one really awkward at first, but let me tell you, it's so powerful, is the confident pause. I loved having the incredible Oscar Trimboli, the deep listening expert, come and join me on the podcast a couple of years ago. If you haven't heard that episode, check it out. He's also got an amazing book called How to Listen that he released after that episode came out. Really brilliant book. But here's the thing. Oscar talks a lot about what's not said and the value of listening. And I love the confident pause because it allows you to listen as much to what's not being said as what is. But the other thing I love about the confident pause is it creates two things. It creates space for them to fill the gap. And we're going to talk about that a little later on because I've got a tip that sort of falls off the back of this one in just a minute. But the other thing that the confident pause does is it does exactly that. It's confidence. It shows them that you are confident in what you're talking about and what you're doing. All right. So almost establishes an authority without you having to do anything or say anything. But it can feel really awkward. So there's lots of different ways that you can do this, but it could be maybe after sharing a testimonial, you just pause. It could be after sharing a really amazing hot tip with a product, just pause. Or it could be after asking for the sale. Now, this is where my next tip comes in. This is probably the biggest one, and Greg and I throw this one at each other a lot because this is one that I learned. I'm going to say I learned this from some mentors many, many years ago, but I couldn't even tell you who it was because I think in some ways I pieced together a lot of trainings, and this is one that I think I ended up almost teaching myself. So this one, though, I used anytime I was trying to close a sale, anytime I was trying to get someone to make a decision. And I use it with my kids too. I use it with Greg. This is not manipulative. This is allowing people to do the thinking on the spot. So here's the thing. There's psychology in this one. So I'm going to explain this one to you properly. This is the tip. The last person who speaks loses. Now, I know that sounds a little sad because we don't want anyone to lose, and they're not going to, but the thinking is sound here, okay? So here's the thing. This is all about the psychology of selling. So what is the psychology of selling? Well, let me give you a little bit of a background here. In a moment of pressure, the brain is going to go, like we talked about how the brain can get a little bit overwhelmed sometimes. And what happens is when there's a sudden silence in this place, the brain will fill the gap. Okay, the brain's going to fill the gap. Humans are wired to fill silence in conversations. We've all seen that happen. We've all done this, right? How many times have you been at a party or a dinner party or a barbecue and suddenly there's silence and if you're anything like me, you're the person that like fills the gap with nonsense because it's awkward, right? And I hate being at parties or at dinners around the table where no one's talking. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's a good thing. I think maybe there's value in learning how to sit with the silence, right? So please don't take a leaf from my book there. But the reason this happens is because of exactly this. The brain is wired. Humans are wired to fill silence in conversations. So when you go quiet after asking a question, sharing a price, the other person instinctively wants to respond to relieve the tension. And if you rush to fill the silence, you rob the buyer of their moment to process and decide. This is the thing you've got to remember. You are robbing them of the chance to process, and they need time to think. So the reason we fill the silence in some cases is because we're actually taking a moment to think, and we need it. So if you say nothing, they will often give you exactly what you want, which is, what is the problem? What is the objection that you need to overcome in order to get them to make a decision? So if you're a little like me and you love the psychology of selling, you might ask yourself the question, well, how do I know what the objection is? How do I know what they need to make this decision? If you do all the talking, which we're often wired to do, right? We just naturally do all the talking if you don't think about it. And we take away the opportunity for the person to tell us what they need. So when you go silent, this is why I say the last person who speaks loses. If you go silent, you give them a chance to fill the gap with either their objection or give you an answer. If you talk, you give them a chance to back out, to procrastinate, to think about it and figure out how to say no. Now, it's not manipulating when you go about this the right way. Okay. So I will use this in a circumstance as well where I want my kids to make a good decision for themselves, but I don't want to make all of the decisions for them. So I do this in a lot of teachable moments with my kids. So I will ask them a question or I'll make a statement and then I will stop talking. So to give you an example of this, particularly as a parent, typically we want to fill the gap, but we also want to we want to teach them how to be and how to feel and how to behave. But sometimes the learning is more in them understanding how to make that decision for themselves. And now I'm not coming to you as a parent who's going, I got it all together, right? I'm probably like most of you out there, if not worse. I am like learning every single day as a parent. But one of the things I have learned, particularly when it comes to feelings, as I've got now teenagers as well as a baby, is we've got to often let them make those decisions for themselves, but learn to express. And so, one of the things that, if one of my kids is having a bit of a meltdown or they're angry or they're frustrated, and I ask them a question or I say to them, how are you feeling right now? Or how does that feel? My instant reaction is I want to then tell them or suggest to them or comfort them even, tell them or suggest to them how they should be feeling right now. Now, what this does, it fills that gap and it gives them time to think about, how am I going to get out of this situation? Or, what am I going to say next? Or, it gives them time to process maybe the wrong thing in this case. So when I'm silent, and this is how we use it at home a little bit more, when I'm silent, it gives them an opportunity to share with me what's really going on. So sometimes, and Greg will look at me and go, last person who speaks loses, right? So he knows to use it in that situation as well. I might use it even with Greg if I'm trying to sell him that I want to go on a holiday and I want to take all of the kids, and I make my point and then I'm quiet and I just let him talk. I'm like, oh, that's right. He's giving me all the objections. He's giving me all the information. He's filling all the silence right now, which means I'm the one that's going to come out with more information that's going to be helpful here. Or he's just going to make a decision and say yes, right? Hopefully, if it's about a holiday, for sure that's what he'll do. But the other reason this works is because a silence signals confidence. So when you speak clearly, you ask for the sale, and then you say nothing, it shows that you're not desperate or begging. You trust your offer. You trust them. And that's really important for them to understand. So are you ready to get started? Pause. The pause says, I believe this is a good decision for you. So the pause is a confidence that they need. But when they feel like you're desperate, you're begging, you lose it, right? So I used to get to the point, and I've talked about this before, but in my old sales job, way before I started this business, I had a script I had to roll with. And at the end of the script, we had all of this objection handling stuff we were taught to do. I didn't do any of that. I would get to the end of the script. I would ask for the sale, and I had a specific way I would ask using some of the strategies I've already talked to you about. My favorite was the assumptive sell. So it was, hey, so would you like to do the 50% off offer or the buy for one, 2 for 1? Which is essentially the same thing, right? 50% off or 2 for 1. So I would say, would you like to do 50% off or I used to call it BOGO, buy one, get one. Would you like to do BOGO or 50% off? And then I would stop. And no matter how awkward it got, I would stop. Because at some point, someone needs to talk. And I guarantee you, 90% of the time, I would get the sale when I did that and stuck with it, but it was really hard sometimes because that pause can be really awkward. The other reason it's really powerful, it gives the buyer ownership as well. So your silence will allow them to step into that decision-making power. And it gives them the time to process, visualize, and imagine what saying yes could feel like. So this is where the emotion starts to kick in. And we all know people buy emotionally. The other thing is, as I said, it can surface objections. So it can give you the chance to find out what might really be going on for them. I guarantee you a lot of the time what you assume is the problem is not. So when you're quiet, they'll often talk themselves into it or out of the sale. And if they talk themselves out of it, you're hearing the process because their brain needs to fill the gap. So instead of you talking and them thinking about this, so now you have to be a mind reader to work it out, they're verbalizing it because you've left a blank canvas and an awkward pause essentially. So if they then start voicing any doubts, it gives you the chance to respond rather than defend. And of course, you're doing it in a way that's meeting them where they're at. So I really love that. I think it's really, really simple, easy way to do it. Now, the last little point I'm going to give you here, my last little tip, kind of reflects a little on what I spoke about just then. But if you can't get somebody to make a decision one way or the other, and you're left in kind of like a situation where either they're not responding at all, or there's a stalemate, or the answer is a no, usually it means that you haven't uncovered the real reason for them, the real objection, the real problem. And so here's a tip that I love to share with people because I still use this every single day, including if I'm trying to talk Greg into a holiday, right? Is this: if you don't have the answer yet, ask another question. The quality of the questions you ask will dictate the quality of the answers you get. And so if you haven't figured out yet how to get them over the line, just ask another question because it probably means you haven't learned enough about that person and what really makes them tick. Maybe the reason that they need your product or your business opportunity isn't what you thought. For example, it's almost never about money. The reason people do a business or the reason that people invest in this industry is generally not because they want to earn money. It's because there's something that money does for them. If they say it's about money, it may be a chance to ask some more questions because if you tie it back to money without knowing the real reason, you'll probably fail miserably at getting them to make a decision. So what does it do for them? So ask another question. What would you love to have some extra money to spend on? What would you do if you had some disposable income right now? Start to get them to share with you more information. Now, maybe it's not about the sell. Maybe what you're wanting to figure out is why you can't tie them down for a meeting, why you can't get them to join you for a coffee, why you can't get them to pick the phone up and answer you. Ask another question. Maybe it's just the way that you're communicating it. Maybe it's because they don't have a whole hour of time, but they can find a little 15-minute spot. Maybe they don't have a way to get to you, but they'd be really happy for you to go to them. Maybe they don't drink coffee, right? So if you don't have the answer yet, ask another question. The questions that we ask are probably one of the most powerful things we can do in any circumstance to get someone over the line. Because number one, it shows them that they matter. When you ask questions, they feel like they're important because they are, and you care about the answers. I hope. I'm sure that you do. But the other thing about asking questions is it fuels us with so much more information. Sometimes you might realize I'm not even talking to them about the right product because I've just asked a question that's just identified for me that this product is irrelevant for this person. But this product over here absolutely is relevant for them. because I've just realized something that is going to be game changing to this conversation. So it shows them that they matter. It allows you to make whatever you're talking about super relevant for them. And most importantly, it builds the relationship. Asking questions allows you to connect with them on a real and relatable level. If you were going on, we often talk about, in our trainings, dating, right? So when you are talking to people on social media or in person, you're not going to jump straight from hi, how are you to will you buy from me? You're going to date them. In other words, you're going to treat them the same way you would, the same in the most appropriate of ways, the same way you would if you were going on a date, right? I just realized how that was coming out then, hence the laugh. So you want to be connecting with them like you would if you were dating someone. Now, where I'm going with this is if you met with someone for a date and you sat down and you had a glass of wine each and you've ordered your food, you are not, I hope, going to spend the whole time talking about yourself. If you're any good at dates, you know that the vast majority of that talking should be you asking them questions. And if they're any good at dating, they're probably going to do the same thing to you. So there's this backwards and forwards going on. We should be doing this with our customers as well. But we do tend to fall into naturally, because we're passionate about what we're talking about, just telling them everything that we think they should know. Stop, pause yourself, and just ask more questions, because it shows them that they matter in this conversation too. And most importantly, that you are tailoring the conversation for them as well. So that's it from me. Some super simple, super easy things that you can do. I'm going to quickly recap those. So first one is, don't ask them an open-ended question, give them options. So are you available to meet with me next week? Turns into, are you available on Monday or Wednesday next week? And if it's, hey, I'm available Wednesday, great. Could you do 2 or 4 o'clock? Now, if they're not available at either of those times, just give them another 2 options. It's really easy. You don't need to only have those options available in your calendar. The point is, it narrows that decision down and it makes it way easier for people to say yes to you. Next is use FOMO. People want to do what people are doing, so tell them what all the people are doing. And if you can, create some appropriate demand as well. So help them make a decision because there's a reason to decide by XYZ time or day. Also, micro yeses lead to big yeses. So the more you can get someone to say yes in a conversation, the more likely they're going to finish with a big yes that's going to mean you get to work with them long term. Next up is the confident pause. Don't feel like you have to fill all the gaps. A confident pause tells people that you're an authority in your space, you know what you're talking about, and they can absolutely trust you. Then my favorite, the last person who speaks loses. I should change that one because I feel like losing isn't right. We don't want anyone to lose, but it's true. The last person who speaks loses. It creates, because of the psychology in sales, it creates a space that the human brain naturally wants to fill. So it helps give you more information. And then last but not least, if you're not getting anywhere, just ask another question. So hopefully you've got some cool little tools to use here to help you take people from no decision to over the line, or not sure to heck yes. So hopefully this helps you out today. Remember, take something and implement. So if there's anything today that you've heard and you've gone, do you know what? That sounds like something I could do. I'm going to test that. Go home tonight. Test it with your partner, with your kids. Have some fun with these and just see. You know what you're doing, so have some fun with these and see if you can get someone over the line with something really simple or basic. Try and sell them a dinner that they wouldn't normally want to have. See if you can work out what the real objection is. Anyway, have some fun with this, guys. I know that you're going to implement something because that's what you should always do off the back of any learning. Don't just write the notes down. Take something and use it right away. Have some fun with this. Don't forget to share this podcast episode with anyone that you think this could help. And don't forget, of course, to subscribe to any upcoming episodes. We're going to give you some information about our memberships as well in the show notes with this episode. If you want to join the Oksano family, we would love to show you how to do that as well. But that's it from me today. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you on the podcast again next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.